distinguished colleagues, participants, and organizers of the conference. I am thankful for the opportunity to speak in front of you and to share some of the thoughts concerning the counter-terrorist efforts. The meeting of that kind always a very good prerequisite to exchange opinions, to bring closer positions, and to generate measures to ensure stability. I'm happy to see among these so many important people who share the same ideas, are interested in a fruitful cooperation. The situation in the world continues to be very tense, and among the key problems is the international terrorism. And despite successes which are unquestionable, the global statistics of victims remains very bad. Last year, the number of killed and wounded all over the world exceeded 33,000 people. And from the people as of 2014, since the time that the Islamic State became most powerful, this number amounted to 152,000. Just think about these numbers. You can see the population of the whole city, and in the average, annually, more than 1,600 terrorist attacks happen all over the world, and when the bandits are always taking the responsibility for these types of crises, and we're talking about ISIS, and it is easier to name the regions where ISIS was active as compared with fairly successful geographical regions. In the Middle East and in the East, the terrorist activities is almost the phenomena of every day, and developed Western countries were also attacked, and the terrorist efforts become more and more strong in Russia, and our country makes a serious input in the fight with international terrorist organizations. Recently, we stopped the active military phase on suppression of terrorism on the territory of Syrian Republic, and vast territories were liberated, which were seized previously by Islamic State, Jabhat al-Nusra, and other illegal armed detachments. Resource basis of jihad also diminished, and we have offered humanitarian aid to the occupied territories, and we support the peaceful light establishment, and the flow of refugees of Syrian citizens is shrinking now. At the same time, those successes which were reached shouldn't pacify the participants. Now we need to prevent regrouping of the forces of terrorists and their adaptations to the conditions. And we see that ISIS and other structures are trying to achieve this. They are spreading all over the world. Their children and women who already took weapons in their hands also represent threat. And part of these formations are moved to Afghanistan, Libya, Yemen. They go deep into the African continent and to the states of the Southeast Asia. They strive to maintain combat potential and create new zones of influence, and they avoid open confrontation, and they want to enter into partisan warfare. They form strategic alliances in the regions of relocation, and we do not exclude the opportunities of a reunification of ISIS and Al-Qaeda as a terrorist network, and these organizations will have sleeping cells in many countries of the world. And with considerable experience of undermining and combat activities in the city, technology and manufacturing of real chemical agents, and a broad practice of fairly cheap attraction of the resources, but which are dangerous in the terrorist acts, which will be staged after that. We're talking about the exporting of the so-called individual jihad to Europe and to Russia, when a single terrorist or groups of terrorists would use any handy weapons like knives and automobile transport. And such attacks do not require intricate chains, but they are used, those actors right on the spot. And these actors, they may not have any traceable history of participation in terrorist activity and could be beyond the vision of the special services. The effect of propaganda is also a strong factor to unroll the terrorist brand with the press, professional media machine. The emerging of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, they launched the propaganda campaign, and that attained a new quality level. And their expansion in mass media, they tried to copy the principles, and other terrorist organizations are using the same. And international underground capability of mass media influence are quite substantial. We're not talking about the internet, where we have more than 10,000 sites of terrorist websites and hundreds of thousands of their accounts. And I'm talking about encrypted communication, electronic banking, and cryptocurrencies as a remote management methods and its financing. In the past year, we saw more than 22 acts, and 22 were prevented and 4 were executed, and a lot of them are escaping from territory of Syria and Iraq. At the same time, terrorists expand their communication with hacker community and also form their own cyber units. The international terrorist network also is responsible for the criminal activity. They supply weapons, money, they recruit people, they organize routes of transits between the regions with enhanced terrorist activities. And the most important condition, such structures as Al-Qaeda and ISIS are capable to maintain their capability. And every state of ours separately may attain serious successes locally, but will not be able to independently and completely defeat global threat. And solution of this mission requires consolidation of maximum possible participants, including those who have different views on different aspects of international policy. And last years, the United States and Russia's relationships are living through a very difficult stage. But United States advised Russia on the terrorist acts prepared in St. Petersburg. And also we received information from our Turkish partners, and thousands and hundreds of Russian citizens were saved. And actually, they were not included into the list of victims, consisting of 150,000 victims. And these examples are really very descriptive for those who are working in special services and law enforcement. Let politicians do politics, and let us concentrate on our own scope of work. And our main job is to ensure security. And federal security services accumulated considerable experience to combat terrorism, and we're prepared to share this experience. We always welcome and highly value the steps which are made towards us. In summer, we are receiving the Global Football Championship, and we hope that our cooperation with law enforcement services and special services with foreign countries will work effectively as it did in the past, when by joint efforts we ensured the security in the Olympics in Sochi and the Cup of Confederation of FIFA of 2000. 2017. As far as permanent forms of cooperation, we believe the forming of the combined or unified center of information, and we propose to interested party to use and to fill the international data bank to counter international terrorism. We have 41 special services out of 34 states of Europe, Asia, and Africa, and also 6 international organizations, including Organization of United Nations, CIS, and Interpol, and COC. And we have about information about 4,000 individuals, about great number of messages, different analytical materials, including the problems to counter the ideology of terrorism. There is a special information massive about terrorists and combatants. There are 11,000 of resumes, and we believe the development of mechanism to counter the propaganda in the network and creation of conditions which impede the use of telecom means in the interests of terrorist activity. The Federal Security Service is open for foreign partners at any other directions to combat our common enemy. And I'm sure that this conference will become another step on the way to fortify peace based on the principles of security. I wish the participants of this conference fruitful and successful work. Thank you.